Hey friends, welcome back to the channel. Thanks so much for joining me for another video. I had such a great response to the video that I posted last week about our debt-free story and some tips on how you can use credit wisely that I thought I would share this second video with you as well. So this second video is really about 15, maybe 20 minutes or so of the tail end of the previous video, but I cut out that content because I just thought it was a little too much information, extra information that maybe you wouldn't care about. But with the questions and the comments that I've been getting on that video, I thought, you know what, I really think that that content is valuable and I want to share that with you guys. So it is some tips for you that you can take with you on this journey of consolidating debt and getting debt free, things that I have learned from our experience and our journey along the way. So I've plugged that content into this video for you guys just for some added value for you to go along with the first video. And I will be sure, if you missed that first video on our debt-free story and the credit building tips that I had there, I will link that video for you guys in the description of this video as well. Make sure you check it out because it'll make more sense if you watch the first video and then you watch the part 2, it'll all make sense. So without further ado, friends, here's the rest of that content for you, and I hope that you find it helpful. I really wanted to take just a couple minutes to talk to you about some lessons that I learned and just some things for you to think about when you're working with credit. With Lexi, when she turned 18, she had no credit. So if you're someone out there that doesn't have credit, or maybe you have children that are going to be 18 soon that don't have credit, obviously they wouldn't have a need for credit, right? There's a way to help them build that credit very quickly. So as soon as Lexi turned 18, because of what I knew about credit and how to use it and how to work with the lenders and what to say to them on the phone to get those 0% promotions, I told Lexi, as soon as you turn 18, we're going to apply for a credit card in your name. When we first started looking for credit cards, we were really running into a wall of nobody wanting to give her credit because she didn't have credit, which is understandable. So what we did is we got her a discount tire credit card, and Joe co-signed on the credit card with her. So Joe and Lexi were on this account. She went and got some new tires for her car, and she worked on making those monthly payments with interest on those tires for 6 months. Once she had been making those payments on time without fail for 6 months, she was starting to build that credit for herself. So as soon as we hit 6 months, I went on the internet with her, we sat down and we tried to apply for, I think we applied for like 2 or 3 credit cards. Well, she was approved for one. Her first credit card, I think, was only $1,000 credit line, but that's a start. So what we did is we took that $1,000 credit line, we called the company, we said, hey, I want to make a balance transfer and pay off this other credit card that I have, which was the discount tire card. Do you have any promotions you can offer me right now? Sure enough, they offered her 0% promotional APR. She used the new credit card, paid off the discount tire card, and now the balance that she's paying on is all going towards principal because there's no interest. She did that for 6 months. And then in 6 months, she applied for another credit card. Then she was able to go to this first credit card and ask them if they would be willing to give her a credit limit increase. That's just the way you do it, and you build on that. So if you don't have credit, that's one way that you can start building your credit, is see if you can find somebody that's willing to be on a credit card with you that you trust and that they trust you. Start building it that way, and before you know it, you're going to have enough of a history there in your credit that someone's going to feel comfortable giving you a credit card in your own name by yourself. Another thing I wanted to point out to you guys, if you're using credit cards, let's say your credit limit on a card is $10,000. You never want to spend more than 50% of that credit card, because as soon as you go over that 50% mark, it's going to start having a negative effect on your credit score. So if you've got a $10,000 credit card, you don't want to spend over $5,000 on it, because then that's a high balance credit card and it's going to start bringing your credit score down. So when I was managing all these credit lines on the spreadsheet, flipping houses or purchasing our land, The reason I had so many credit cards that I had to use is because I couldn't max out all those credit cards because it would put my credit score in the toilet, basically. So I had to look at all those individual credit cards. This one's 5,000, this one's 10,000, this one's 20,000. And I knew on each of those cards, I could only use up to 50% of that credit limit, because the second that I went over that, it was going to start making our credit score tank. So keep that in mind, and also keep in mind if you're doing balance transfers or taking advantage of promotional APRs with the companies, they usually charge a small fee to take advantage of those. It's usually something like 3% of the amount you're going to use, or a flat rate fee. So make sure you factor in that amount when you're looking at the amount that you're going to use on that credit card. So if you have a $10,000 credit card and you're going to use 4,000, and you know you don't want to go over that 5,000 because that's that 50% mark, just make sure that you factor in that fee that they're going to charge you, and make sure that that fee doesn't end up taking you over the 5,000 as well. If you're going to do anything like what I'm talking about, maybe you're in debt and you're thinking, I want to consolidate. I've got 2 credit cards or 5 credit cards. I'm going to call them and see if I can get some promotional APRs to pay off these bills. Make sure that you do a spreadsheet, you guys. Make sure you have some way to track those credit cards when those promotions expire, because if you don't balance transfer them before those promotions expire, you're going to be paying interest, and that defeats the whole purpose. You guys, we paid off our vehicles. Like when I said we consolidated that 90,000, I paid off everything, even our car payment. Like I was paying interest on my car payment, and my car payment was like $425 a month. That was a big car payment. I consolidated that. I used a credit card, paid off the car payment with a 0% promotional APR, and now my car payment was like 2 something. It was just a huge difference. Teach your children how to use credit wisely also. Nobody ever taught Joe and I about credit, how to use it, how to build it. And this is really so important, because it's great to say, well, I'm never going to use credit. I'm only going to use cash. Of course, that would be best, right? But the reality is not a lot of people have cash to go buy a car or to go buy a house. I mean, these are big ticket items. So most likely in your life or your children's life, they're going to need to go and get a loan from somebody at some point in time, which means they're going to need a credit score. If they don't have credit or good credit history, people are not going to feel comfortable loaning to them. So make sure you teach your children about credit early. Lexi is 19. She's about to turn 20 in March. And her credit score is almost 750 right now, you guys. And that is really good for a 19-year-old girl straight out of high school. So she just got her own car in her own name, didn't need a co-signer. And that's because as soon as she turned 18, right out the gate, we started building her credit just by using one credit card. Another tip is I don't use credit card companies that charge me an annual fee. Again, my whole point is to not have to pay anybody to use their money. Annual fees are a waste of my money, especially when there's a lot of companies out there that don't charge an annual fee. So I would recommend to you, if you only have a couple of cards right now that have annual fees and you want to try and do something like what I'm talking about, that's fine. But as you get going and you're building your portfolio of credit lines, I would recommend that you get rid of the ones that, or don't use the ones that have an annual fee. The other thing too is try not to close your credit card accounts. If you close your credit card accounts, that's also going to look bad on your credit. If you have a card you're not really using, just hang on to it. I actually have a business card holder book that I bought on Amazon. I'll actually link that for you guys in the description. But this is where I keep all my credit cards. And sometimes you'll get a letter from that credit company that says, hey, you haven't used this card in like 6 months. If you don't use it within the next 30 days, we're going to close the account. You need to use that credit card, even if you just go purchase gas and then pay it off or whatever, because anytime you have an account closed, I don't know why, but that also looks bad on your credit, and it's going to ding your credit. So you want to keep these credit lines open. If the company won't offer me promotional APR offers, I don't use them. So one that I have found that is very typical for not giving me any kind of offers that are worth anything is USAA. I don't know why. And I actually have a couple credit cards with very large credit limits from them, but I don't use them because they don't offer me any 0% promotional offers. I use them when I have to keep them active, and then I pay them off right away. I'll just buy groceries with them once and pay it off right away just to keep that account active so they don't close it out. But I don't have time for companies that aren't going to work with me. So if they don't offer me 0% promotions, I don't use them. So we, as you guys can tell, have learned a lot about credit, the importance of it and how to use it, how not to use it. And it's funny when you go through something like we went through, you really learn your lesson. And I can honestly tell you, I will never, ever go into debt again. I will never use anyone else's money unless it's at 0%. And the other thing, when you don't have any active credit lines, if you don't have a car payment that you're currently making every month on a loan, or you don't have a credit card that you're paying on every month, that's going to actually make your credit score go down as well. You need to, lenders like to see that you have some account, even if it's just one account that's active, that's being paid on monthly on time, and there's a history there that shows that you're responsible. When we sold the farm and we paid off all that $90,000 of debt, our credit was like in the 800s. It was just the best it had ever been. But very quickly, within the first few months of paying off all that debt, all the car loans, our credit score started going down. And that's because we didn't have any debt, but we also didn't have any active revolving accounts. So it looked like we didn't have any credit going on. So what we did when we came here to the 1 acre homestead, we knew that it was important for Joe and I both to have at least one account that was active being used so that our credit history showed we were making payments on time. So we needed to build a new shop on this property. We put up a metal building garage, and we also had a cement slab laid for it. So I paid for the metal building garage with a credit card in Joe's name, and I paid for the cement slab. I had a crew come out and lay a big cement slab for the garage with a credit card that's in my name, both on 0% promotional offers. I just called the company, said, hey, I'm looking to do a purchase. Do you guys have anything you can offer me? Oh yeah, you got 0% for 18 months, and that's what I did. So the garage was paid for with someone else's money for free. All of our monthly payments have been going straight to principal. The payments are super cheap because there's no interest on those payments, and it's keeping our credit looking good because we're showing if we ever need to go out and get a loan from someone, which I can't anticipate we would, it shows that we have active accounts that we're currently paying on and the history is good there. So that's another tip for you guys. Make sure that you always have at least one account that is active that shows a good history of monthly payments being made, or else your credit will go down as well if you don't have anything going on out there. When I look at my credit score right now, and keep in mind, I only have one credit card in my name with a balance on it, and that was for the garage. My credit score right now is 807. That is really amazing. I have no debt anymore. I've got one credit card that I'm paying on that's on a 0% promotional APR. I've got those written down. I know when those expiration dates are, and as soon as I get close to those promotions ending, I will balance transfer that balance onto another one of my credit lines at 0%. This really came in handy when we bought the cabin in Alaska. We needed to refinance this house that we have here in Virginia to get cash out to purchase the Alaska cabin. So if I didn't have good credit, the lender would not have refinanced this house for us and given us the money to buy the Alaska cabin. So you see, there are times in your life when you're going to need credit, so it's really important to know how to use it and how to use it wisely. All right, you guys, thanks so much for watching this video. I hope that you found this valuable to you and your family in some way. Keep in mind, even though we are a homesteading family, a homesteading channel, you guys always hear me talk about this. That is our niche, I guess you could say. But to me, homesteading encompasses all things life. It's not just how to grow carrots or how to can chicken stock, because the reality is Money is a part of everybody's lives, right? Even as a homesteader, we are all striving to be self-sufficient. That's why we're homesteaders. But the reality is we're not 100% self-sufficient, nor will we probably ever be. Money is always going to be a part of our lives, whether we're a homesteader or not. So I love sharing our story with you. I love sharing our life with you. And that involves so much more than gardening and raising meat birds. You know what I'm saying? So I hope that you guys enjoyed this content about our story of getting debt free and some of the tips that I have been able to give you guys that I learned along the way from, you know, out of the darkness came the light. And I really learned a lot from that. And I really think that paying that forward and sharing that information with you guys is the right thing to do. So I hope you enjoyed it. And keep in mind that this is going to be a journey. If you are in debt, chances are it took you a little bit of time to get there, right? So it's going to take a little bit of time to get out of it and to undo what you did. So don't get frustrated with the process. Don't expect results right away, because that's just not how it's going to go down. If you have crappy credit, it's going to take you a little bit of time to fix that and to build it back up, but you can get there. So work on that credit, establish that credit, and then reach out to these lenders and get credit lines in your name and start paying off and consolidating some of that debt. You will get there, I promise. Don't give up. Do not lose hope. And the other thing is, even if you have really good credit, but maybe you don't really have any credit lines or credit cards that you can use to implement this strategy that I've shared with you guys, you're going to have to take time to sit down one day and either call your credit card companies or your bank, or go online and start applying for credit lines and credit cards that you can use to implement this process to help you get out of debt. You've got to make the phone calls, you've got to sit down, make a spreadsheet, track it, do all the things that we talked about in these videos. But it's really not a sprint, as they say, it's a marathon. But the best thing to do is get started, because nothing ever changes if nothing ever changes, right? So I hope you guys enjoyed this content and these 2 videos. If you did, give me a thumbs up and make sure you comment in the comment section. I love hearing from you guys, and I always do my best to respond. Thanks for joining me again here on the channel, everybody. Stay blessed, and I'll see you on the next video.